If you are like a lot of people who work in the corporate world, but you don't really enjoy being in the corporate world, well, I have some news for you. You can actually make a living doing what it is that you actually enjoy doing. However, you enjoy spending your time, whatever your hobbies are, the thing that you really enjoy doing in your life, the thing that you really enjoy spending time doing whenever you're doing it, you can make a living out of it. But why does it seem so impossible for us to actually make a living doing the thing that we genuinely love doing? Why does it seem like the only way we can actually make a living is to follow the system, follow the what we are taught and how to go and find a job in the corporate world for the most part, and then follow that process? Well, that is because we grew up in an education system which is designed for, number one, a different generation, designed to teach you how to be an employee and not necessarily a business person or an entrepreneur. And it's designed mainly to prepare you to go into a work world that was designed for men, because as females weren't always in the workforce. So there was an entire system designed where the women stayed at home and the guys goes to work, and the work world was all around men, right? So number one, if you're a female, you also, besides the generation, the fact that it's a different generation that the system was designed for before the internet was a thing, it's also going into a work world where it was designed for men, right? And men had their way of doing things there. Now, men and women, we are not the same. We are not the same, okay? We do not think the same. We do not operate in the same way. We are very different, okay? Especially in how we think. So why does it seem like you can't do what it is that you would love to be doing as a way of generating an income for yourself? Well, we do not see it happening often enough. How often do you know of people that someone loves growing flowers? They really enjoy that. That is where they are at bliss, when they're in the garden or in wherever they're busy growing their flowers, and that is what they are doing. How many people actually take that and make a business out of it? How many people take that gift, take that skill, take that thing that they really enjoy doing it, and make a business in service for people who do want to buy flowers? Some people don't like planting flowers and growing flowers, but they buy flowers. I mean, there's a whole industry around flowers. Okay, so maybe you really enjoy planting, but you've never seen yourself as someone who can actually do that as a way of creating a living for yourself. Why is that? Because we don't see it often enough. We go to school, and at school we are taught, listen, you're going to go, you're going to get good grades, you're going to pass all your subjects, then you're going to go to varsity and you're going to study. You're going to study, you're going to get a degree, all with the aim of getting a good job, a job that pays you a certain salary. And it's been confirmed also because we see, okay, people who go and get a certain degree, get a certain qualification, have the certain titles, and that's why people think what titles mean that they are better than other people. Titles don't make you better than anybody, okay? We've seen it. Then they go get a job, and now people are earning money and they're driving cars and they're driving big houses and living in big houses and so on, which also don't be fooled, because there's a lot of people who might be earning a certain amount of money, but they're living also beyond their means, and you don't know what happens behind closed doors. So it's a system that we are in. It doesn't mean that it's not possible. It just means that now I need to shift my way of thinking so that I can now get into a state where I can now open myself up to the idea that I actually can generate an income doing something that I genuinely love doing. Not because society says this is the way you make money, not because the system that you're familiar with is how you can go about making an income. But if you genuinely love something, you are really good at it, the fact that you really enjoy something means that there are probably other people who are also interested in the same thing that you are interested in. So already there's a market there, okay? It's just that we're not taught marketing and sales and branding and all of these things now go into it, because when you go to school, you're not taught that. I wasn't taught that. and then having to learn all of that. It's like you feel like you're starting from over again. But is it worth it? How many people do you know get up in the morning and say, I'm going to work, excited to know they're going to go and do the job they're busy doing? Most people on a Sunday are laying there like, oh, tomorrow's work, to get up for work. Most people are miserable. Most people are miserable, and they're miserable because they don't enjoy what they're doing. And yeah, they then end up hating on the job or their manager or the company that they're working for. And it's just projecting the unhappiness that's happening within. But it is possible. And there is also a proven, reliable, and repeatable system on how you can actually take what it is that you love and implement that into being the thing that you live in from. Okay? It's not impossible. We just haven't been taught the system. We haven't been taught how to go about living from a different way of thinking, not living from, okay, what does my condition say? What does my bank account say I can do? What does my apparent time say I can do? There's a whole other set of way of living, which comes from being connected to your higher source. Okay, this is very important. If you're going to be following the system that I follow, the system that I teach, and you do not believe at all in a higher power, in a universal power, in some divine source that you are connected to, that is operating in this world that we're living in this universe that we are living in the universe in its entirety, then the system won't work for you, because there is a connection to a higher power, and that's where we basically draw from during the process as well. But it's not impossible. It is possible. It's just that we've been taught that way. We don't see it often enough, and we are also in a transition period from one way of living into a whole other way of living. And if you haven't realized it yet, yes, we are shifting out of an almost redundant way of living. It's phasing out into a different way of living. And if we don't do that, I don't know what's going to happen to us as the human race, but we are progressing. And if you look at history, we have always progressed as humans. We have always progressed, and this is nothing new. This is just part of our evolution, part of our progression. So we're moving out of one way. The Industrial Revolution was one way of being. It was like the only way of being. But now there's a whole other way of being and living that's coming into place. And we happen to be the generation that's in the transition stage. So yes, it does feel uncomfortable. Yes, it does feel unfamiliar. Yes, it does feel scary. And it's natural. It's part of the process. But the great news is, once we get this right and we start implementing the system and the tools that allow for such living, it becomes easy for our children and our children, because then for them it becomes a normal way of living, from not looking at what my conditions say I can have, not looking what happened in history, not looking at what society says can happen, but actually coming from a more connected place and building your life from that connected place based on one very, very specific question. And what that question is, what would I love? What would you love? It's moving into a way of building an entire life, building your life based on what it is that you would love for yourself. Not what you think is capable, not what you think is possible according to what you've seen before or what society has said or the people around you have said, based on what it is you would love. Okay? Emerson, if he just looked at what was possible according to what he saw around him, we would not have electricity. The Wright brothers, if they just lived their life according to what they saw around them and what was happened in history already, there would not be flight. Okay, so these individuals are not any more different from what we actually are in terms of our capabilities of drawing from a higher source, drawing from this power that we are connected to, and actually progressing with it. Okay, because there's a lot of people unhappy, and they're unhappy because they're not doing things they love. They're unhappy because they're living complacent lives that they're just not happy with, but it's what they know. And also, then you also don't see another alternative. This is the life I know. I'm not happy with it, but what? What can I possibly do about it? This is all I know. This is all I see. So there is a different way of living and being and progressing. But you are going to have to be required to get out of your comfort zone. It's going to be a bit scary, and it's going to be a whole new journey. But it is possible. The system that I work with, the system I follow, the system I teach has been has already been applied and is being practiced, has been practiced by thousands and thousands of people already. So this is not something that's new, that's being tried now, it's being tested now. This is something that's already been tried, already been tested, and is working. I am someone who's testimony to that because I come from a corporate background. I have had absolutely no idea on what to do about anything, absolutely anything business related. But yet here I am, still in the process of building and growing a business and actually being an entrepreneur. I'm not even connected to the corporate world anymore. Yes, it was shit scary. Sometimes it is still shit scary where I'm like, oh my goodness. Because you go to that stage where there's a DEFCON stage. So DEFCON stage when you move from one way of living to another way of living. And I've been living in that way for a very long time. So when you move into a new way of being, your nervous system does react and it's going to react. But when you know how to take the tools that you learned during this process and implement it to calm your nervous system down so you can continue to move on in the process, it makes the process easier. It makes it so much more doable. So it is capable, it is possible. You are capable. If I am capable of doing it, you sure capable of doing it. I mean, some of my one mentor didn't even finish school. He didn't even finish high school. And he was one of the most successful business people that I know with multiple business. I mean, we're talking about millions and millions of dollars in terms of how much is generated and how businesses in multiple countries. So it's not about your education. It's not about where you come from. It's not about who you know. There is a way of connecting to this higher source and then drawing from that with what it is that you would love to build, whatever it is that you would love to be building for yourself, but also for those around you. Because when you do what you love and you connect to doing what it is that you love, there is a benefit for that for the next person as well. Just by someone seeing you living your life, doing what it is that you would love to generally be doing with your life. So if you enjoy planting for a living and your neighbor's child sees you every single day in the most enjoying state of your life, planting plants, that is already an indication where now we can start showing and someone will start seeing, oh, but it is possible to have a living doing what it is that you love. It will become more common knowledge. And that is why I'm doing everything that I do. That's why I do the work that I do. When I started in the corporate industry, I really knew that I didn't really enjoy being in it. But what else? It's the only way I knew how to make a living. It's the only way I saw on how to go about making a living. And I didn't really know entrepreneurs. You don't really see them so often. Maybe if you're in a certain crowd you would, but I wasn't in a crowd where people were business people and building businesses and doing those type of things. What I saw was you go, you get a job. The schooling system I went to, you get good grades, you go get the qualifications so you can get a job doing very good work in an organization. Then you're going to get paid and you're going to live your life that way, and you're going to have a pension fund, and you're going to retire one day, and that pension fund is going to then sustain you until the day you die. And then things like recession happens, and then that pension fund is not the fund it was supposed to be, and you're retiring and you're wondering, what am I going to do now? Because I was supposed to retire with this amount of money, but the markets happened, and now that 2 million rand is now a 700,000 rand, and I'm supposed to live off that from 65 until, if I live until 100, the next 45 years. It's designed, the system is designed for a different generation, different conditions, different times. Okay, so it is possible to live a life that we would absolutely love to be living. It's possible, especially if you don't like being in the corporate industry, it's possible to generate an income doing what it is that you would love to be doing, but it does require you getting out of your comfort zone, because what you've known, even though you might not be comfortable in terms of how happy you are in what you are doing, what you've known is comfortable because you know it. Okay? Because you know it. All right. That's it from me today. I'll see you guys again. Ta-ta!